All right, can you hear me now? There you go. Sound check. Sound check is in. We are this time couple. We are going to have Torah that better time you can hear. We realized that I realized that because it didn't record, even though we thought we were recording, that it was a piece of Torah that is not yet ready to be sent out into the world because it was a chiddush of insight into the Parsha of Akev and Ray. I'm sorry, Eschan and Akev. That is not. I have not seen that connection in any form. So it means that it'd be a relatively big chiddush to say that I found a piece of Torah that has not been already part of the existing Torah Sheba'al Peh that we know. So therefore, it was Min HaShamayim that should not be recorded. And if so, then we will have to decide if it's going to be publicized at another time. Anyway, but we're going to talk about Parshas for A. Shishi starts Kapitel Tesvav. It's a fascinating aliyah, and so you almost have to take the whole aliyah as one. So, and if we pay attention, the minyan of mitzvahs, comparison with Parshas Akev. Parshas Akev, I think it was 8 mitzvahs. Let's take a look again just to make sure that my numbers are right. Yeah. All of Parshas Akev is only 8 mitzvahs, right? With all of its beautiful instructions, there's only 8 mitzvahs in Parshas Akev. In Parshas A, there are 55 mitzvahs. So Parshas, in comparison, the two Parshas, which are almost very similar in sense of both even Veschanon, Akev, they're very similar tone of Moshe Rabbeinu's instructing Klal Yisrael how to learn Torah, to keep Torah, how to observe Torah. But comes along Parshas A with 55 mitzvahs. I say almost 10% of the 613 mitzvahs is probably, I think, about 8 or 9%. So, if so, then decide. Let me see if I can figure out which mitzvahs essay are in Shishi. So, in the mitzvahs essay that are in Shishi are the following. I'm going to do the mitzvah essay first. To realize that the language of the Torah itself makes it sometimes hard to find these mitzvahs, because the Parshas Shemitah, which is what it starts off with, is already there. Parshas Eved Ivri is already back in Shoftim. The mitzvah of giving tzedakah is already there. Meiser is in to give Meiser is already in the previous aliyah. So that we have an entire aliyah with which the real mitzvahs essay are almost hidden. Okay, let me just read you the mitzvah essay. It's seven or maybe 8 mitzvahs in Shishi and Parshas A. Number 1, it's mitzvahs. It's mitzvah of the mitzvahs. Mitzvah 445 out of 613. Right? And the lavim of the 365 lavim, this is number 256. Just interesting numbers. The first one, I'm sorry, that's not it. This is wrong page. Okay, I'm sorry. It's Mitzvah Tov Ayin Hey. Mitzvah 400, mitzvah number 475, and in terms of lavin, it says 289. Right? The first one, not to demand debts that one has to them in during Shemitah. Al yishmatu kulam, but they should the Shemitah abolishes all debts. But yitzveim oid, and you should not demand payment for what has already Shemitah has already annulled. Shenemar, as it says, Shemoit kol baal mashe yodai asher yash be'ev leyigosh esraeyu be'esachiv yikosh mitel Hashem. You should not try and collect, and either the mitzvah ribis or but not to take any loan once it has already been shmitel Hashem. That's number one. Second mitzvah in Shishi is Tafayin Vav Rishus Lingais. However, you have permission to charge interest from a non-Jew. And compel him to pay. It's a mitzvah, as listed over here, to lend, or it's rishus. You have permission to lend with ribis to a non-Jew and to force him and demand payment. There's no Shemitah does not annul a loan to a goy. How much? Okay, come on in, grab a plate. Wednesday night shul. Okay, mitzvah tafayin vav. I'm sorry. Now, here in minutes over here it has the Rambam Smag say that there is no real mitzvah to lend and to demand money from a guy. It's only to say that we should have compassion upon a Jew who we lent to. We shouldn't charge him rivers, and you shouldn't demand past the Shemitah. So it's one mitzvah less, according to Ramban. Tavayin Vav, Tavayin Zayin is the Hashmid Ksafim, the Ainu HaChaybes Shebeshtar Shemitah, to let the Shemitah should know all the debts. It's almost a repetition. They should not hold back from doing tzedakah to our brothers of Bnei Yisrael, on the tzedakah who are needy, when we have the ability to give this, to strengthen them. Do not harden your heart. Do not clench your fist from your brother who's poor. Mitzvah Tafayin Test is last. It's tzedakah l'chazik b'yado ani. It says mitzvah to give tzedakah and to strengthen, to give him energy, to energize him.
To calm him down.
You should open your hand. So it's not only just open it, but it's double lashon. It tells that you not only give him, but you've given away that makes him feel stronger. Mitzvah tough pay. That you should not hold back from lending because you're afraid that the person will go, that the loan will go through Shemitah and you won't be able to collect it anymore. Because you don't want the debt to be canceled. You see what the person will say, they'll say, they'll be dishonest, they'll say, the Shemitah is coming, so I shouldn't lend the money because if I lend the money, maybe you won't pay me back when Shemitah is, and I'll lose it. No, the Torah says, don't hold back. You should give. You have to make sure you give tzedakah even before the Shemitah. It's because of this love that Hillel came up with the principle. In order to be able to make sure that the poor will be able to borrow money before the Shemitah. Mitzvah Tafayin Test. Last is tzedakah. So we said the one. Mitzvah Taf Pay. We said Taf Pay Aleph. When you should not send out the Eved Ivri, the Jewish slave, the Hebrew slave, when it comes to time of the end of 6 years of the Yovel, the rest, it would be a dime because you can't send them out empty-handed. When you send them out free him, don't send them out empty-handed. Okay? That's one mitzvah. And then there's another mitzvah added to that, Tafei Beis, Lahanika Eved Ivri, to means to be compassionate and to provide, to give the Eved Ivri additional resources when he leaves. But you should not leave empty-handed. Shenemar Hanik Tanik, a separate mitzvah of even adding to give the person tzayin ubakar, etc. To give the Eved Ivri additional funds when you send them free. Okay, so these are the 7 or 8 mitzvahs, depends on how you count them, of the Aron Shishi. Now, if you look at Shishi in the Torah, it's much more elaborate, which means the Torah is sort of like hiding these 7 mitzvahs in a much bigger framework. Let's take a look at it. At the end of the 7th year, you should do Shemitah. This is not the place where this mitzvah takes place. The mitzvah Shemitah we already had before in the Torah. So this is not the time you have a mitzvah to do Shemitah, because that's just repetition. This is what Shemitah is all about. It will annul all of the debts that the person has. But you should not demand payment or charge ribis, because the Shemitah will annul it. Do not demand once the Shemitah has taken place. Don't demand the chayv. As anochri tigos, charge your interest to lend to nochri, because that was your brother. That you allow it the Shemitah to release him from his obligation. So that's why the Ramban didn't count this as a separate mitzvah, because it's really it's when in one pasuk, it's anochri tigos. You just lend to Naju. But let the chayv be annulled by your brother. So it's Ramban says there is no separate mitzvah to lend and charge lend money to a guy. It's about having to be compassionate to your brother who's Klal Yisrael. So the Ramban doesn't count this as a separate mitzvah. Eves kol yebucha evyan. It was an interesting puzzle because it's not a mitzvah sessi at all. Shalom of you, sure. Ready to go. Yeah. I will.
Hello.
Yeah.
Still wearing your plastic gloves?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
However, there should end up being no poor person to be as well that you don't help. Hashem will give you a bracha in the land that you live in. You'll be able to give him that's given for you as an achla. Because Hashem gives us an achla, therefore, it seems that is a mitzvah. Therefore, if we give tzedakah, then we will be able to zercha to the nachla. Right? Again, this is not a mitzvah. It's not counted among the minyan of mitzvahs. Listen to the voice of Hashem to do all the mitzvahs I'm commanding you today. It's very nice, but this is not. It's not counted among the mitzvahs. It's a nice admonition, right? Keep the mitzvahs, but this in itself is there right in the middle of these mitzvahs, without it being any part of any mitzvah here. Because Hashem will give you a bracha every day, as every day He's promised you, and you shall rule over many nations, and you will not borrow from them, and you will rule over many nations, and they will not rule over you. Sahav Tocha, right? It's very nice, but what do you do with the rest of the mitzvahs? So the mitzvah has 7. This only has 7 mitzvahs, and this is not one of them. Chaim is back.
I was back.
I was back from Berlin.
Oh. Why'd you come back?
Hey, give him a plate.
Don't touch the potatoes.
Ki yeh b'cha pasuk zayin. Ki yeh b'cha evyayin If there will be the poor in from one of your brothers in one of the gates of your city, of your land, that it was given you, do not harden your heart. Don't hold back your hand. That is a mitzvah. That's the law. You should open up your hand and lend it to him. Everything that he needs, that he's missing, is a mitzvah.
So there's an say and a love right there.
Right there. Saying the lav. Like 6 plates and Pesach Tiftach. Lav and a mitzvah. Like be very careful, not that you shouldn't be dishonest to say now that the Shemitah is coming, therefore I can't help the poor, right? And because if you don't help him, he will call out to Hashem and he will consider chet. This is the law. You can't be dishonest and not want to lend money to a poor person. Nothing to give him nothing. Make sure you give him, and your heart should not be hard, not feel bad when you give it to him. Because of this, because of this very mitzvah of being nice, being kind to the poor, Hashem will give you a bracha on everything you do. So it's a haftarah. If you give, you open it up, you help him. And so I think it's the Chliyoker says that this haftarah, if you give, I say if you give Meiser, so this year you'll be 10% will be 1 out of 10. Next year will be 10 out of 100. The next year will be 100 out of 1,000. It keeps on multiplying itself geometrically. Because there will never cease to be the poor from your land.
Just a few seconds before we said, Lo Ya'egel. Now Lo Ya'egel.
Yeah. So the Mefarshim it's want to say that it's the ones it meant before you won't be. It means you got to know that that if you do a bracha, then you won't need to be poor. My father used to say, you listen to the language of the that's bracha inside of you. As long as it's you're thinking about yourself, you don't have to feel poor. But there'll always be poor in the land. Okay. Plus your base. Again, if your brother gets sold, or Jewish school gets sold, they work for 6 years, send them out after 6 years. This is not a mitzvah here because it's all part of the mitzvah in Parshas Shoftim, in Parshas Mishpatim. But when you send them out, right, don't send them out empty-handed. That's mitzvah says. Hanik is two separate mitzvahs. Right, L'shishchan Reikum is one mitzvah. Next pasuk Yodal Hanik Tanik LeMitzvah from Megavecha is a separate mitzvah says. Okay, good night, John. Thanks for coming. It's a separate mitzvah says. One is L'shishchan Reikum. The second was Hanik Tanik. Yeah, you give him from give him from your sheep, your crops. Right? You should remember that you were slaves in Eretz Mitzrayim. Says one of the six sechiros, but it's not a mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah. You should. And if he said, by the way, which is the pasuk seems to be a little bit out of sequence. We'll come back to it. And if he will say, I don't want to go out free because I like to stay with you, it's time. If it stays, you take him and put all in the bull, all in the oil. Yeah, that's sure. There's no essay here.
What the
First of all, because it's in Parshas Mishpatim. Yeah, and it's just nice information. You're talking about every. Tell us what happens if he doesn't want to leave. You shall not it should not let your eyes feel in your eyes it should not be difficult when you send them out free. It's Mrs. Esser. So it's interesting which end up being part of the Taryag mitzvahs.
But some are really repeats of previous.
That's right.
So,
yeah, but there's some things that are added, and it says that the whole purpose of these additional parts are the things which are not you don't find in the first listing of these mitzvahs. That's just an observation on the parsha and the number of mitzvahs that here. There's only 7 or 8 mitzvahs harikan, and a lot of psukim that include those which are not part of the mitzvah at all, but just part of the we'll call the attitude, the perspective. So but one thing we do about these are all men adam l'chaver, right? Because the mitzvah shemitah is not, we don't need this parsha for. Mitzvah shemitah will only tell us that once you have shemitah and it nulls the chayv, you're not allowed to put any pressure on to collect it back. Once it's shemitah, right? So the purpose of this mitzvah is not the mitzvah shemitah. Mitzvah over here is tell us that you can't demand the payment back. Once it's shemitah, you're not allowed to demand the payment back. The law in the Torah.
but the person can voluntarily pay back despite shemitah.
There's a machlokes in the Gemara. It says he shouldn't. It says, yeah, it's a Mrs. Chasidus. And the whole parsha of Eved Ivri in itself is a fascinating mitzvah because it's what we call the ultimate social service parsha. Yeah, it's rehabilitation. It rehabilitates either ani or ganav, right? And it has to be a poor ganav also, because it happens if the ganav steals and he doesn't have what to pay back, so then the person can then sell him, quote, his services for 6 years in order to repay the money that he stole from, but he didn't have it. But he says, but if so, you can take him. He has to be a domestic slave, a domestic servant. You can't give him avodah kosher. They can't treat him like a slave. You have to give him, dignified position. He has to be able to keep mitzvahs like a woman. He has to, you have to maybe put on tefillin also. And if he's married, you got to take the wife and the children, bring them back. You take care of him, and then at the end of the year, you got to give him, put him up, get him put him back on his feet, give him enough to be able to start his life all over again.
He says, "Kana adam latzon."
Yeah.
So
it's definitely not slavery. That which the world are kind of slavery. Eved Ivri, it's not slavery. It's just opposite. It's contract. It's even if it's just a poor person who couldn't afford to marry off his daughter. So what you do, give the daughter on a contract to somebody who will then take care of her and marry her off. Either he'll marry her or marry her off and treat her young, and she's treated like a full bas Yisrael. You have to make sure she has to make the chassan and provides her just like every bas Yisrael. So these are mitzvahs which are. It's for us. If we're going to use on a ball, it's almost the sensitivity to other people's suffering. The person who borrowed money doesn't have what to pay it. You shouldn't let the shemitah cancel the loan. The Eved Ivri, the Ivriya.
Sounds like a Biden's program.
Yeah, give him what says.
Cancel the student loans.
And right in the middle of this, all this mitzvah over here is to remember that this is the reason why Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. So we should be kind to another Jew who ends up getting sold. Right. That's the reason why Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. But what about all the other 613 mitzvahs? This is the reason. Because remember, you were served, we were slaves in Mitzrayim. Therefore, that's why Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. It's very strong. It's sort of like out of place in word. So I believe it's the HaRav in Parshas Mishpatim. It says that if you look at this, you have to look at this not only as the mitzvahs in Adam l'Chaveri, you have to look at it as the Haftarah for Mashiach. That we are servants, slaves. Hashem puts us into the world in order to be able to go through difficult times, in order that we should be forced and compelled to do work that we would otherwise would have avoided. And that the Sheishanim is just 6,000 years of this world, and the Shvi is Yetzel Chavshi, that's Mashiach will be here, the 7,000th world, 7,000th year.
7th millennium sabbatical.
Yeah, the 7th millennium sabbatical. That's Oil Matikun. So since there are the primary 7 mitzvahs in this parsha, yeah, it gives it a little bit the possibility of an insight that every mitzvah in the Torah is there to teach us our relationship between ourselves, not only being Adam and Malkim, but being Adam and Chaver, which these mitzvahs are, being Adam and Malkim, right? Hashem saying, I'm giving you these mitzvahs because I want you to have this relationship with me. I want you to be aware that I've taken you out of Mitzrayim. So really, it's a mitzvah to remember what Hashem does for us, rather than just be a good person. Because on a simple level, we could say these mitzvahs are telling us be kind, generous, considerate. It's really about, do we see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what He does for us in every day of our lives that's hidden within these other mitzvahs. So I don't know if I pointed it out before. Let's just look at it today. Yeah. Sefer HaRav. Sefer HaRav is a fascinating sefer. Sefer was the Talmud of the Ari HaKodesh. He lived in time of the Ari of Yosef Karo, and he said, "This is my Rebbe, the Ari HaKodesh told me that there's 613 mitzvahs in Torah, 248 mitzvahs, 365 leis, and we know that the Chazal tells, the Gemara tells that there's 248 positive mitzvahs, 365 of in the Torah. That there's a mitzvah essay for every part of the body, and there's a lot for every. So if so, he says if so, then we should ask when a person sees that there's suffering, this person should see a certain part of a person is starting to suffer. They should examine their deeds. There must be a way to correlate Mrs. S and Lois S to the different parts of our body
To fix the problem, huh?
to fix the problem, right? Because he says the reason why we got sick is because of a spiritual problem. The physical it's the physical manifestation of a spiritual flaw. So it's a fascinating sefer. He doesn't have every part of the body. Just most of them are the eyes, Okay. It starts off mitzvah tuyus believe. So it depends on the heart, eyes, ears, mouth, esophagus, the lungs, the trachea, the nose, hands, body, feet.
Seems that good part of the body covered.
Yeah, good part. And he goes through all the mitzvahs essay that are totally on them, on these mitzvahs, on these parts of the body, and the mitzvahs loisase, the parts of these parts of the bodies. And then he goes on to Shemayim and Kabbalah, the mitzvahs essay of the Rabbanan, which are where parallel to which part of the body. And again, ayin, oizen, peh, beshet, b'yadayim, raglayim, b'shagviyah. And then it goes on to tell us, it goes on Cheshbon how to do tshuva. So fascinating. But in it, is a very interesting he was the author of Yedid Nefesh. Yeah, Yedid Nefesh. Except for that, you look at it in the original version, it's a little bit different than what we say. Yedid Nefesh of Rachman Meshech Abdul Tzonach. Yoretz Azlich Vayel Shtachvul Hadarach. He Yerav Lo Yedid Esach Menoi Fesuva Chol Toam. He Yerav. It will be sweet if you had to know Ziv Olam. Naf Shechol Savasecha. Ono Kel No Fanolo. B'Haris Onem B'Zivach. Oz Tzchazik V'Sizrab Oisel Simchas Olam. Oz. What's again when Arachem Bacham? Okay. B'Chus No Alben Alvecha. Kizeh Kama Nichsoif Lirois. B'Tiveresecha. Ono Eli Machmad Libi Chusha Nova Al Tisalan.
Sounds more like a Sephardi version.
Yeah, it actually makes much more sense because it already said chusna or chusano as we have it. Why do we say chusano again afterwards? So according to him, it's just chusna. You should care, and chusna is listen. Please, Hashem, please listen.
Yeah, good.
Please listen. Right? It actually makes more sense. Chusano, please listen and don't look. Don't turn away.
There could be a Litvak saying Chusana.
Yeah, maybe that's where. Maybe the printer was a Litvak, so you put in chusana.
This name can be this name.
But the original version had chushana. Anna, then please, you go on the first chayv alay suk shmecha. Torah shechayda and the giving of chavach. Maher ev kiva meil chanin kimei olam maher.
Ends up with my hair.
Maher. So it's just it's fascinating to see what the original version looked like, and its slight differences. And then I don't know which printer decided to change it. Yes. However, we come back to the basic premise that every mitzvah and law of the Torah is to tell us something about ourselves. And these mitzvahs, as he describes them, are really mitzvah tluim b'leiv, because that's the way the parsha starts off. These are mitzvahs which are designed to heal our hearts. And the Tzvara Gedoshim put a lot of emphasis on tefillah because of this. And we talked a little bit last week. It's also Machlekes Rambam on it's because the Rambam counts as a mitzvah saseh, tefillah. How do you serve Hashem with your heart? The Rambam says, tefillah, mitzvah. The Rambam doesn't count this as one of the mitzvahs, which is an interesting discussion. But nevertheless, even if you don't count it as a mitzvah essay, it's a description of how to daven. And our difficulty is that we leave our hearts behind. We've been trained to say the words, to think about them, and maybe even with kavanah, to get our hearts in the middle into tefillah. That's already very hard. So I thought about it that this aliyah, this parsha, which is all about really how to be kind to the poor, but gives us in all these different facets of how many ways that we are can open up our hearts to help other people, is respect, give them the respect that they need to build, elevate them, build them up, give them strength. So that's why this pasuk and the other one we just talked about, pasuk, this pasuk, Rakim Shmar Tishma Ukral Hashem, Lakech Shmar Lois Gom Esnazeh Shanach Matav Chayim, Ki Hashem Lakecha Berachu Kasher Dibalach. Va'avata Goyim Ram Vatol Isabait, you will lend them in the other nations, and you will not have to be borrowed from them. Atol Isabait Mishal Tuvgam B'Cholim. These are haftochas of what the benefit we have, because we're going to take these mitzvahs and put them into our heart. So Tzvar says that the reason it tells us why tefillah b'tzibur is so important. Tefillah b'tzibur is because we have to pay attention to what other people are feeling and thinking. And if we daven and recognize that we're part of something greater, then we are not only davening with ourselves and for ourselves, but we're davening with and for the tzibur that we're a part of. So one of the seminars that you used to do, I tell people, it says, I give you 60 seconds. This is the next 60 seconds. I want you to count how many colors you can find in this room. Okay? Includes different shades. You know, you have a light brown, dark brown. Okay? Those count as colors, okay? You want to try it?
You do it now?
Yeah, let's do it now. Okay, ready? Let's get the sweep hand at the right place. 60 seconds. Tell me how many different colors you can find in 60 seconds. Okay, start.
What's the track here?
Other side. Okay. Who found more than 30 colors?
Sure.
How many more than how many?
38.
How many found more than 40 colors? 50 colors.
I think so, yeah.
I think more than 50.
60 colors. 70 colors. 80 colors. 90, 100, 110.
Yeah.
That's counting slow. Now, prove it, look around and see, look at a color that you did not see before. Just to tell you that there's things that are happening around us that are and influence us. They make a difference. rather than being in a sterile white colorless room, we're living in a room filled with different thousands of colors. This room like this has thousands of different colors. And they're all there and they affect us every time we walk in. We don't even stop to think about it. Part of the other exercise is to be able to walk around the room and feel that in the same room, there are different areas which are different temperatures. To feel easily, we feel on the tip of your nose, you can feel the difference of temperatures in the room. And then to start to notice other people by looking at, because everybody got dressed every day with something that felt good for them, and identify something on somebody else that they probably put on so that they should feel good that day. Light color shirt, dark color shirt. By the time you're done with this, an exercise takes about an hour and a half. To become aware that when we meet together as a minyan, there are hundreds of different things that influence us that we don't stop to even think about how they impact the way that we daven. Because when we start to become aware of what's happening around us, our tefillah comes at tefillah sh'malei, but do we care about the other people in the room? And that's why the Baal Shem, isn't it really the Ariyah Kodesh, but the Baal Shem says, before you daven, that's what we call the mitzvah after Yacha Kamarcha. If a person wasn't Mikal Avas after Yacha Kamarcha, this is not called davening. It's making yourself feel good. Because if I care about somebody else, so then I get to Hashem, I care about somebody else, so Hashem, you can care about me. It's Hashem said, remember that you were Eved? So I took you Eved or Yisa. It says, I took you out of Mitzrayim, so you should give tzedakah. You should be kind to other people. That's the reason why Hashem took us out. If we didn't, if they realized that we're there, that the reason why we are Klal Yisrael is because Hashem wanted us to have this extra level caring, then we've missed. You see, Yesh Mitzrayim. Yesh Mitzrayim is Al Kain. That's what I'm commanding you. So as I said, our Chaim HaKadosh in Parshas Mishpatim says that the whole parsha of Eved Ivri is to talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be ready to take us out of Golus. That we're heading towards the Aleph HaShishi, we're finishing up 6,000 years, and that we're turning to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and saying, you gave us a mitzvah Eved Ivri, we're your Eved Ivri. Because we were poor, because we didn't know how to manage our lives, we were enslaved in Olam Haza. And as Hashem should come and release us from the difficulties of Olam Haza, is what the whole purpose of Parsha Eved Ivri is all about. The proof is this parsha where he tells us this mystery, and it's not counted as one of the parsha of Eved Ivri is not counted as a mitzvah here because that's all we put there. Tell us you have to care about somebody else. Tonically, make sure you care about them. Like you tell them, when you leave me, don't leave empty-handed. Right? Don't leave another Jew empty-handed. So if we think about it, that's what in the bracha of Shema Yisrael, Shema Kerleinu. What do we say? Don't send us empty-handed. We come into davening. We should need to ask, what am I coming out of davening with? Am I coming out with something more than I walked in with? So we turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and we say, okay, now we're sending us out. Don't send us out of this Golus, just empty-handed. Make sure that we have everything that we need. so we can leave his scholars full of the bracha that Hashem wants from us. And if that's the case, if it's a chai together, we'll remember that this is the reason why we ended up getting we're sold. Because there's a love that we have, but with which we have to let go with the love of this world, to be able to want to come. We've worked, we've gone through all of the difficulties of Golos, and then we know we'll get the bracha comes. We have to go. This parsha take carry us with these all 55 mitzvahs, this parsha, out of this Golos. The Ramban says in one place, this is the secret of this parsha. It's to recognize it comes, this is the lesson of the Ramban. Ramban. Yeah, it says like this. With that time, this reason for the mitzvah, Shemitah Hashem. It's called Shemitah for Hashem. That's the way the Pasuk calls it. Shehi Shabbos Hashem. The whole purpose of Shemitah is to recognize that it's time for us to be close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, all of everything that Hashem has made will be able to rest. Kvar must, he said that this is one of the secrets that I've hidden from us. Is that to be able to see the Gulish and the Karva meaning? Everybody have a great Shabbos.
Chill. But the